Good news, everybody. The tactic of having Capcom to play their own weapon has worked much better than I expected, and the result is us having big buffs to some of the biggest issues of the weapon almost immediately after. Today's has been published the patch notes for the Tittle update 3.0, and we got several direct and indirect buffs to Gunlance plus some bug fixes. For the Gunlance patch notes we got two big changes. First, Hail Cutter cost has been reduced to just one wire bug. When Sunbreak launched, Hail Cutter got already two buffs. First, its cooldown got a bit more reduced from something like 14 seconds per bug to 12. And then greatly boosted the amount of Wyvern fire recovered. These made Hail Cutter very nice to use alongside Ground Splitter while playing the main campaign of Sunbreak, where you could play around the cooldowns of both for using powered up Wyvern fires every 20-ish seconds. But the moment you unlocked Bullet Barrage, there was little point using it. Bullet Barrage allowed you to totally delete the cooldown of Wyvern fire and was also a very strong shelling attack. You had to decide between Hail Cutter, Ground Splitter and Bullet Barrage, and Hail Cutter was clearly the weakest of the three. Now, the picture is very different. You no longer need three wire bugs to use Ground Splitter and Hail Cutter together, and Bullet Barrage, being a pure shelling attack, has fallen from grace in the current game. Because of the power creep of the updates, for normal gunlances, doing full burst combos deals similar damage to Bullet Barrage, and if you are doing multiplayer, you will not send the other players flying. So Bullet Barrage is a lot less desirable currently. I should wait for the update to do a good analysis of the new Hail Cutter, because they are also increasing the cooldown and we don't know if the new skills are going to interact. Still, we know that Hail Cutter has a lot of value for long and wide shell types. Long has the strongest Wyvern fire and a decent full burst, so the combo of Blast Dash, Shell, Hail Cutter and more is very strong with this shell type. Hail Cutter has the strongest melee attack value of all Gunlance attacks and even a 2x damage multiplier for elemental damage. This will allow you to use the Air Hail Cutter combo as much as you can now spam reverse blast dashes with the extra incentive of being able to cancel anything into a Wyvern fire for defending and attacking at once. Wide is also good because your full bursts after an Air Hail Cutter will become 33% stronger since you are bursting for 3 shells instead of just 2. Ironically, the strongest wide combos involves full bursting, and this makes it more powerful. Also, Wide's Bullet Barrage is the weakest of the 3. So, there are a lot of pros for Hail Cutter there. Hail Cutter will still be trash if you use it from the ground since it takes ages. Now, the other big buff from today is Ground Splitter duration extended and cooldown reduced. The biggest problem of G's, other than that it disappears when you put away your weapon, is that it basically makes you play with one less wire bug. It had a cooldown of 30 and a duration of 30. This limited the things you could do with it, and there are cases like with Reverse Blast Dash and Bullet Barrage spam where using these silk binds made up for the damage loss of not having Ground Splitter. If Ground Splitter wasn't buffed, I would say to forget about using it. Now we don't know since the patch notes doesn't say how much the duration is and how much the recovery has been cut. Something like a duration of 45 seconds with a 20 seconds cooldown would mean that you would have 25 seconds where you are buffed with all your bugs. That is a big thing. Also, since the cooldown is lesser means that if you get hit and must use a recovery wire bug, you are penalized a lot less. So we got two clearly stated wins, but there is more. The patch mentions the already known capacity of making every Gunlance level 8. That is great in some many ways. I suggest you take a look into my channel since I already covered up which Gunlances are going to benefit the most from this. No doubt the shell types that are going to become a lot stronger are long and wide. Normal will also get buffed, but Torsi Gunlance was already awesome and you are getting some upgrades, but long and wide had in common that the Canyon and Corn Popper were average at best, with their only redeeming quality being level 8. The new options are better raw or affinity and more slots and sharpness without giving up anything of importance like the 30 defensive Canyon. Lol. Now, about indirect buffs, there is another big one. We are getting a new talisman melding option, and Curious Crafting is expanded to include more skills. The only skills that can be added are those belonging to the endgame monsters like Malsino's Bloodright, Sheeting Bagel's Guts, Lucent's Sneak Attack, Flaming Espinos's Intrepid Heart, and so on. This is huge for Gunlance since the current armor pieces for these skills are in general godawful for Gunlance with small to no synergy, and if just one or two of these skills make it into the augmentations, you will be able to have a lot of new combinations going. Just imagine a set with Sneak Attack, Bloodright, Embolden and Intrepid Heart at once. I'm going to stop right here. I only can get so hard, and should not Monster Hunter rise my expectations. Finally, the other new buff is the incorporation of followers in every hunt, and that Palamutes are buffed up. I would argue that Gunlance is the weapon that works the best with the most people. You aren't as much penalized for not having a clear shot to a weak point as the other classes, and the more people around means that using sneak attack will be easier. Not only because the monster will be focusing more on them, that will happen, but also because they carry their own traps and items and can ride monsters without your input, so you can get a lot more free damage. This sure will come very handy when facing the new super hard afflicted monsters. So, with all these changes, Gunlancers will be able to Wyvern fire more often, keep their 20% extra damage going for more time, and raise their sneak attack uptime. That will be easier to incorporate into any build. All this is awesome, and I couldn't be happier. The only two complaints I have left are making Wormstake Cannon and Charged Shells more useful, since right now are near useless. Wormstake just can't compete against Erupting Cannon's massive 30% bonus to all your melee damage, so at most, you will have to run it in a secondary scroll. Right now, the only legit use I have for it is paired with Bullet Barrage for some extra damage and for activating Intrepid Heart faster, and nothing else at all. Charged Shells are a joke in both forms, and there is no way I aren't using Blast Dash. That's simple. Still, I will not complain too much today because I'm happy. One battle at one time. See you in 2 days top. Thanks for watching. And see you in the hunt.